All right, guys,
I
we're
think
all
we're already
back.
live. So,
Yep. Okay. It looks like the contest's still going, guys, so you shouldn't have to re-enter for the contest. So, anyway, we're back.
I don't. When did we get? When did we lose it, Derek?
We lost it immediately. We were talking
Oh,
about,
okay, great.
I think we were talking about, I don't know, skies and how my
It's okay.
tanks look
So I'll do.
great.
How about we just, we'll just hit the reset button. I have my paper clip here, so we're all ready for that. So here I am in my office. This is my Red Sea 170 behind me. I always like to, if I always like in live streams. I always like to have the tank with me, even during like office calls and stuff like that. It's always nice to have your tank over your shoulder, right? Like I
Yeah,
do this because I like to do it.
yeah. I know. There's a lot of people I see online and streams, and we never see their tanks. I'm like, I want to see your tank, man.
Yeah, I mean, I always say when somebody's telling me to do something, or especially with things that I know about, right? If I don't know about it, I'm a little bit skeptical of them anyways because I can't verify the information. But
Right.
especially in the hobby, right? Like if I'm reading something you're telling me on the forum or something like that, I always want to go see your build thread. Right. I need to
Right.
see that you have a tank and that you are successful. And if I hit your build thread and it's just a bunch of rock, with maybe some coralline algae, the amount that I'm going to trust the information you're giving me is much lower, right?
Hmm.
It's nice to when you're on Facebook and things like that to actually get people's names. I think that's also really important. I hate how we're all behind these monikers of different forum names and things like that. It's like, who
Yeah.
are you? You know,
Right. Well, doesn't Terence have like 7 aliases that he uses, like around 7-ish, to go on and
Oh, it's
troll
got to be
people?
more than that. It's
Yeah.
got to be more than that. I think he's got 30 or 40, he's worked up all of these different characters depending on what kind of spin he needs to put on it.
Right.
No. I mean, that's one thing that I really like about our company and the way we do things. All the employees here, Terrence is the example, right? When we want to say something on a forum, we're coming in with our name, right?
Right.
You're going to know that that's how the West Coast sales manager feels about something. You're going to know how I feel about something. You're going to know what we think, and we're not going to hide behind some moniker creating, thud or something like that.
Yeah, so it's interesting. I'm not gonna dwell on this, but when you left, every single person in the stream said that Terrence did it.
It's just good fun, man. I mean, he's people always ask me, like working with him, and I'm like, yeah, I love working with the guy. He
Yeah.
has made me a much kind of think outside the box person. He's made
Right.
me a very hungry person, and it's part of the culture that we have here at Neptune
Hmm.
Systems, right?
Yeah,
Of wanting to constantly achieve.
for people that don't know, I think Terrence should be on Jeopardy. Like he's a bright guy, man.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's
he knows and what you don't really get is he knows an incredible amount of esoteric information.
oh yeah, exact Jeopardy.
Things that I don't even
Yeah.
things that I have
Yeah.
no care for at all. He knows about all of it.
Yeah.
So he's a fun guy to work with. He's driven. He makes everyone else be driven around him because of that attitude. And it's all of our vision, right? When we bring a new product to market, right? It's our engineering vision, it's our marketing vision, it's our application vision, right?
Hmm.
In terms of the product that we're bringing, and so we all are putting feedback and everything into the pot. And it's because of that chemistry, right, that we also work so well together, and we all do this. All
Right.
the decision makers in the company do this. So.
Right. Yeah, they're all about reefing, which is huge. I mean, you
Mhm.
guys get to see all the struggles and things that we experience as reefers and
And
know
go
what
ahead.
to do. You guys know exactly what to do.
Yeah, I mean, it's a couple months ago, I had a situation when everything in this coral, all of my green zone thello was lost.
Oh,
It was due to a alk and calcium imbalance. If you can believe it, I was running far too low a calcium, and my alk peaked up a little bit too much, and the blue zooxanthella I'm sorry, green zooxanthella just completely got lost. You know,
wow.
I was skiing over the weekend, and then I started getting pictures on Sunday from people coming to the office saying, hey, your tank doesn't look that good. We shut off alk, and it was higher than it should be, but I did one of those things I tell customers not to do, right? I,
Yeah,
left
we
on
all do that.
Friday. I, I changed my reagents right before I left because I didn't, I knew I was going to run out of reagents. I didn't calibrate, right?
Mhm.
Because I didn't have time for that. And the numbers that the Trident was showing, because I didn't calibrate, I thought, oh, there's no way these could be true. Well, they were true,
Yeah.
so you always got to get a little bit of humble pie to kind of center yourself and realize that it's not just do what I say, it's do what I do, right?
I got, based on what you just said, I got some good advice, and I think you'll agree with me. You always, even though I have tons of automation, right? I have tons of
Hmm.
stuff. It's all Neptune. I'm not going to
Yeah.
always rely on it. I'm going to always, at least once a week, maybe manually test, or once a month,
Yeah.
just to kind of make sure things are where they're supposed to be. Um, Luckily for me, I haven't had any issues with my tank. Everything's been flourishing and doing fantastic. But it's always a good idea to just check. Just say, oh, well, maybe my salinity is not 35, or maybe my alkalinity is not what the Trident's saying. Let's just double
Hmm.
check, you know. And
Yeah.
I
I
think
mean,
it's a good
at
idea
the
because you just brought up a good point. You never know what could be going on.
Yeah, I mean, it's, we have all of these things that kind of come together, right? And a very wise engineer once told me two is one and one is none, right?
Yeah.
And we all I always use that kind of application whenever I'm really designing something, right?
Hmm.
And if I only have one of something or only have one level of redundancy, right? I always ask myself, will this be catastrophic because of that, right?
Hmm.
Um, and um, and then you always have to ask yourself, will this be catastrophic in 6 hours? Will this be catastrophic in 12 hours? Will this be
Right.
catastrophic in 24 hours, right? And you have to kind of know what what your plan B is going to be kind of at every sort of junction,
Hmm.
right? And For me, that has made me a very successful hobbyist,
Oh
right?
no. Oh no.
Of using that kind of attitude. And I mean, my tank now, if you can see behind me, the greens are back, right? Everything kind of came back in line. Just, I
Hmm.
just had to be patient. And it's not quite where it was before my mishap, but it's almost there.
Yeah, everything looks really good from my view. I mean, it looks fantastic
Oh,
from my view. I think it's
let's
mostly the
put it in
sky.
photo mode, clear it up a little bit.
Oh, nice.
You get a little bit more of the color. I got the sky behind me, of course.
Yep.
This is yeah, I'm sure you've heard all about it at this point.
With the
We've been, what's that?
Without the I noticed without the orange guitar pick, I think. Is that correct or is it missing?
Oh, I have no pick. Wow. Yeah. How
Someone
about
stole
that?
it.
No. I'm one of the ones that, I was running a Trident almost a year before the rest of you, right?
Yeah.
And I was running the Sky very early on too, so the guitar picks hadn't even come in yet,
Oh,
right?
okay.
And I've just never gotten to the point of putting it onto. This was not my first Sky. This is my second Sky. My first Sky had a 3D printed case, and if I can find that somewhere to show you, I don't think it's here in the office anymore.
Okay.
But it was the 3D. It was actually bowed from the 3D
Oh
printer,
my
and I had
goodness.
that run on my tank for 4 or 6 months
I'm looking at
before I got the soft plastic.
I'm looking at the comments a little bit. I just want to go over a couple
Yeah,
things before we continue.
yeah.
Um, you can re-enter the giveaway if you haven't. If you already entered it in the first stream, you're already in. We have a secret person on the stream, and I think you know who it is, or in this chat, and I know who it is. He wasn't
Mm.
supposed to be here, but apparently somehow came here. I don't know how he got in. Let's
Don't know who.
see.
I have no idea who that might be.
Oh, take a guess.
Okay.
When the skies will be available. We've been told between 4 and 6 weeks. Um,
So we will be shipping to distributors in 4 to 6 weeks. Okay, that
okay.
means that it could be 7 weeks till that you have the opportunity to get them in your home. We have not decided yet if there might be a pre-order sometime in the next
Okay.
4 to 6 weeks. That is still to be determined.
Right.
And We are just building them up right now and doing those final finishing touches on software.
Terrific. I'm just looking to see if there's anything else. It's all about the sky mostly, which we'll go into a little bit. I don't really, we got a lot of videos out there about the sky guys, so we're not going to really go into
Yeah.
that too much today. I want to go over some more fun stuff. Even though the sky is fun, I
Ooh,
got more
fun stuff.
important fun stuff.
I mean, the
Uh,
sky's a lot of fun. We can talk about that all day if you want.
yeah, no, I got more important stuff.
Okay, all right.
Although I do want to ask this first question about the sky, and then we're gonna start with the sky, and then we're gonna go into some other stuff because I got a bunch of
Sounds
stuff
good.
to
Yeah.
ask you.
hmm
A lot of people are asking if it's water resistant. I would have to assume it's not, but I'm gonna ask because a lot of people have been asking.
No. So it's not water resistance. It doesn't have an IP rating or anything like that. I
Okay.
wouldn't say it's any more or less water resistant than other fixtures on the market that do not claim to be water resistant, right? So
Hmm.
lights that you're probably very familiar with, out there that do not claim water resistance, our light will be at the same level as
Hmm.
those.
Brandon had an interesting question right now. Yeah,
hmm
guys, the skies are going to be. He's asking about NSI in the sky. So I have
Yeah,
the Sky guys. I've had it for I think since January or February, and I was part of the NSI Sky.
February. Yeah.
So Brandon's
hmm
asking, can people be part of the NSI for the Sky? I presume that's over, right? It's completed.
No. So on the live stream on
That I couldn't make.
Thursday that Terence and I did, yeah, you were sorely missed. We announced a late breaking NSI for the Sky. Unfortunately, probably a lot of the group members in here will not be have the appropriate requirements. We want to
Right.
look for people that have been using an Apex for less than 6 months or not using an Apex at all,
Okay.
right? We are specifically looking for people that are kind of, that are not super experienced, right?
So not many
In
people in
terms of the
my group.
coding, yeah, not configuration and things like that. We have ways to know. So if you create a new count and you link a new Apex to it, we will know. Okay,
Okay.
we know these things. So you can't sneak in, but it is a group of people that we're looking for to kind of test the app. And the way that seasoned control freaks think of things, and the way the average customer thinks of things is very different,
Oh
right?
yeah. Oh
You
yeah.
kind of know the way that Neptune Systems thinks if you're a seasoned control
Right.
freak, right? And we are looking for customers that don't think the way that we think, right?
That's a
One
great
of the
idea.
and the tagline to the Sky is Spectrum, simple, easy. Or no, I'm sorry, Spectrum, spread, and simple. Oh gosh, Terence would just crucify me for saying that.
Well, he's
But
listening
simple,
secretly.
simple is a big part of that. Simple is a really big part of that. And Joe, our app developer, he's
Yeah, I
been
know
with us
Joe.
for a number of years now. Does great work, and Terrence had a vision. I had input on it, and I think that Joe really captured that simple vision because that's a vision he had as well.
Yeah.
So the interface of Sky is incredibly easy to use.
Yeah, again, we're not going to go crazy, but I have a whole video. It's a very short video, about 5 minutes of my Sky experience. I'm going to do a full review once it gets released, but a very
Okay.
sneak peek of everything I'm doing and just basic stuff. And I did a stream the day you guys released it and went over, you know, how to use it, how I like it, all that fun
hmm
stuff. So all these questions you guys are asking, please just refer to those because I got more stuff to talk about Paul other than the sky today.
Okay.
There's been a lot of stuff about the
Absolutely.
sky. Um, there was a good question I do want to ask you, which was the mounting. So a lot of people have asked me when they should be asking you, what was the decision to use three third-party mounts? A lot of people are curious as to if you're going to make a special Neptune mount in the future. I don't know. I'm just
Yeah.
curious.
So, per Neptune Systems policies, I can't comment about what we will be doing, right? I can
Right,
only comment what we have officially said we are doing, okay?
right.
But it would make sense that probably at some point we would have a mount, right? But I want you to try to do the Wayback Machine and think about when, the mount that we're using, right?
Hmm.
That is a Radian mount. It's a
It
great
is.
mount. I
It's a
like the mount. I'm using
fantastic
it
mount.
right now. When the Radians were first released, I believe for the first 2 years, the only option was figure it out yourself or use a wire hanging kit.
That sounds about
Don't
right.
quote
Yeah,
me on that,
that
but
sounds about
but
right.
like, because because we're going back circa 2008, 2007, right?
Yeah.
Try to think. No, it wasn't even that long. It was like it would have been like 2011, 12. But try to think back then, and there was no mount initially. You had to figure it out yourself.
Well, there
So,
also wasn't a
in our
lot of
opinion,
rimless tanks back then too. There was also a lot of tanks
and
that
then
weren't these cool all-in-ones
yeah,
and
you had
all that
you
stuff.
had canopies and everything like that, and then
Right.
finally, right, you have just a mount that really works, and it's a mount that's very prolific, right?
Mhm.
So we kind of decided like we need to make a universal standard here, right? And we're just going to start that,
Mhm.
so it seems to work. And we made the sky to make sure that it wouldn't be too heavy or anything like that. It would work with the mount. It's about as heavy as a Radian, a little bit, but heavier, but just about right,
Right.
so it was a good solution, and it gives customers a lot of options. Maybe they're using Kessels now and they use Radians in the past. They can still pull out those RMS mounts that they had in the past and use those with the skies, right?
Mhm.
Maybe they're looking to make a switch from their current lighting solution,
That
and they
was
have
me.
some of those or access to those.
Yep, that was
So
me.
it just made it super easy for our customers, and why not, right?
Mhm. Yeah, I trust me. If you guys hadn't done that, I would be screwed. Because when I first got the Sky, I was like, how the heck am I gonna mount this? Like I have this whole mounting system. And Terrence is like,
Well,
oh, we don't have to worry about any of that. I'm like, really?
well, you would have had a project on your hands,
Yeah,
right? And
a huge
rather than
project.
just hey, this afternoon I'm gonna unscrew these and put these in,
It
you
took
know.
me, no
So
joke, Paul, it took me 5 minutes to install them.
right. I mean,
Yeah,
and then just even get them going and connected to an Apex. You connected them to the Apex, and it
it
was
was
intuitive
immediate.
from there.
Yeah, it was
And
immediate.
then with your experience with that, right? Your experience with that would have been kind of before we have had the app going and things like that.
Yeah, it was
But
before
you,
that.
you
Yeah.
probably you probably used the app a little bit now, and
Mhm.
I think it's a good experience. So
Yeah, it's, yeah, I mean, it's, for me, everything you guys do is easy. Obviously, I think you're doing the NSI for people that aren't as intuitive and techy like I am. I think that's fantastic, by the way, because you're going to really
yeah,
start to see, you're going to get feedback on what people are struggling with that really have no clue how to program Apex. And I think that's
yeah,
really great.
and it shouldn't be difficult. I don't know if you've run through the new setup. We can show it off if you want, but I want to take
Yep,
this where you want
we're
to go
gonna
with it.
we're gonna
So
do that a little bit later when we get into a little bit of
okay,
programming.
no
Someone
problem.
keeps asking a question, and don't say anything, Paul, because I'm going to tell them to stop asking. Don't ask
Okay.
about if Neptune's making a PO4 nitrate tester. I'm not answering that
Oh
question.
yeah, that well, we can rewind back to per Neptune systems policies. I cannot comment on unannounced product development or support.
So
Sounds like a cool idea, but
he's asked it about 7 times now. So I just want to say, listen,
mhm,
we're not going to answer that question, guys. I don't mean to be
right,
rude,
right.
but it just comes up in every Neptune stream, so I don't want it to
Yeah,
be on
it's
mine.
it. We
Okay,
we know. I'll say this: we know the demand is there,
if I win, then Apex.
but
Yeah. Okay. So before we go on, everyone wants to know about you, Paul. How did you get into the hobby?
oh,
Where are you from? All the fun stuff that no one knows because Terrence talks over you every time you say anything. So we want to know about you, Paul.
no, that's first off, that's not what happens. I am the guy has a clear message, and I am there to support that message, right? And then on top of that, I get into the techie stuff. I like the techie stuff,
I know.
but a little bit about me.
Yeah,
So how did I get into the hobby? My first tank was a 55 gallon, if you could believe it.
that was mine too.
Many of
Well,
us,
one of
that's our
mine.
first tank,
Yeah.
right? The girl that I was dating at that time, I was a senior in college. Yeah, senior in college. Her brother, who was then going to be a freshman in college, had a saltwater tank, and we thought it would be a great idea to move that tank into my apartment, right? And it was a great idea because I kind of took over that tank as soon as it was there. It was a beautiful tank to start off with. It had a canister filter, all that kind of stuff. We did the power compacts, right?
I
And
had
that
power
whole deal.
compacts. Oh yeah, that was big
And
back then.
it just took off from there, and I just fell in love right away. My next tank was a 90. and I was attending school at Indiana University during that time. I was a super nerd, psychology, neuroscience, chemistry, biology,
Oh, wow.
minors and things like that. And I just fell in love with tanks. I started working at this little store, that now thinking about it, like some of the ideas, plenums and stuff like that, I wouldn't ever recommend to any of my customers. But I was working at this little store there. And then I started working at Premium Aquatics in Indianapolis. I worked there on Fridays and Saturdays. And back then, they had these huge, huge livestock things, right? This huge livestock area. And then the best part about that place was they had these 1,000-gallon ponds that were like 15
Holy
feet
cow.
in diameter, right? And they were full of live rock, just full of it, right? And so they would transship just like thousands of pounds of rock, right? And the cool thing about that 90 was I would go through all of those thousands of pounds of rock and find like the piece, like my favorite piece of that live rock, and this is back when you found all sorts of cool things in live rock, right? So fast forward, I then moved that tank from Bloomington, Indiana to Asheville, North Carolina. I did it all in about 18 hours. And I lost one fish.
Oh,
It
boy.
was quite the effort. If you ever want to know about moving a 90-gallon aquarium 700 miles with only losing one fish, I can tell you how to do that. And set that up.
It's
And then I started
oxygen and
working at the
temp,
fish.
man. Sorry to
Yep,
interrupt. It's
oxygen.
oxygen
Well,
and
what
temp.
I did, I actually had a thing of oxygen with me. And so all of my fish I bagged with oxygen, sealed them
Uh-huh.
off. The rocks all kept wet. And then I was super smart. And when I rented that apartment there, I somehow convinced the landlord to let me set up live sand at the house and to set up a saltwater mixing vat, right? So when I got to Asheville, I already had 50, 80 gallons ready to go,
Nice.
and then the rest of it was all in totes and things of that nature. Anyways, I managed a fish store there for a while, and that's when I started getting really into tech and that part. And I can still. I'm having trouble hearing you. Oh, shut up, Siri. And I got my first Apex. Okay, so that's kind of when it started, right? I
Yeah.
got my first Apex at the end of 2009.
So
It
it
was an Apex.
must have been a what, aqua controller junior
No,
maybe?
so it was an Apex. It was a straight up Apex.
Okay.
And so the Apex was released, just about then. I remember opening up the box and being like, really, really, like because back then the serial numbers were written on the back of the box in pencil. There
Yeah.
was an ED8 that had a 2-page manual,
And it was
and then there was
expensive
the Apex.
at
Yeah,
the
yeah,
time.
yeah,
It
and
was expensive.
it was I think $550 if I can
Yep.
recall.
And that was
And
15
then
years ago. So yeah.
I got that set up, and I didn't know anything about networking. I didn't know anything about port forwarding, right? But I had the Apex Comprehensive Reference Manual from Alan Jones, a great guy.
Yeah.
Haven't talked to him in years, but had that. And the next day, I figured out port forwarding, right? And because I remember then I was like trying to show people at my local fish store, like, oh, look at this. And I go to the IP address, and it
Uh-huh.
just goes blank, right?
This was way
And if I'm
before
getting too,
Fusion, guys.
this is way before Fusion, right? So, and then I'm like, how come I can't access it home? And then I figure that out. And then I figure out how to port forward. And then the moment for me, I have to tell you about my first tech support issue with Neptune systems,
I would
right?
love to hear
My
this.
display screen died. Okay. It's something that was far more common back in the day. It still happens from time to time. Neptune system support will take care of you guys. Just let us know about the problem. We'll take care of you. Anyways, it was more common back then. So I call up the number, right? This man answers the phone, and I go, "Hey, my display screen, it's like dead." He goes, and he goes, "Do you have access? Is your Apex accessible via the network, outside the network, on the internet?" And I go, "Yeah. Is port 23 available?" Right? And if for those of you who don't know, don't ever do that.
Don't
But
ever
port
do
23
that.
was not. Don't ever do that, right? But this was back then. It wasn't really a
Yeah.
big deal then. But
Yeah.
port 23 was open. And I go, no, I don't know anything about that. And he goes, well, then you need to call. No, no, but I can figure it out real quick. Hold up my router, and about 45 seconds later, okay, I think it's open now. And then what's your public IP address? Right. I give him my public IP address, and furious typing, just furious typing. And then like 20 seconds later, he goes, all right, it should be working. I look over and bingo, my display screen is working. And I was like, oh my gosh,
Holy
it's working.
cow. Yeah.
And then and then the guy goes, you need to update your firmware. And then meanwhile, I'm like, oh my God, man, I love your products. It's changed every way that I think about it, like it's just amazing.
Yeah.
And then, all I hear is a dial tone. I look down, that call was 2 minutes and 25 seconds.
Wow.
Right? 2 minutes and 25 seconds. And for me, I really like efficiency, right? But I also knew how to sell. I knew how to talk to people and all this thing. I was like, wow, that was amazing. But like, if I didn't know what I was doing, like that would have been a failure, right? And then like 3 months later, I saw an ad on Reef Builders that Neptune Systems was hiring for technical support, right?
Wow.
And I didn't contact him. The girl that I was seeing at the time, I was, wanted to move to California anyways. So I was down for that. And I go to California, and I literally show up at Neptune Systems doorstep saying, give me a job. And they apparently knew what I was talking about. And I joined them in the end of 2011. So I am the longest running employee here at Neptune Systems. So I've been working for Kurt to be year number 10 this year. And I love my job. So in that, I've been in sales, I've been in tech support. Now I do customer experience and kind of manage all the any interaction that a customer has with Neptune Systems. That's my responsibility. So that's whether it be on the wholesale side, whether that be on the retail side, any way that you're interacting with our product, whether it be through the support, the sales, the communication, any of those things, kind of I'm the linchpin that pulls it all together. So I liaise with different areas of the company, engineering, operations, sales, and make sure it kind of all comes together. Since I've worn so many hats in the company, it makes it easy for me to kind of go between and make it all work, but that's kind of what I do.
So I'm curious because I've asked this a few times to a few different people. So when did the transition for you come? I'm going to be behind the scenes to now be on YouTube and be on. I mean, and how did that come about?
That was a progression, right? So Terence started Let's Talk Reef. I want to say in 2018 or 17. And the idea was that that I would, be we would have a tech corner essentially, right? And the first, if you even go back to those first couple episodes, there were some great tech corners that we still use for relevant information. And then I'm one of those people that once I start to learn something a little, I want to learn it a lot, right? And then the Trident video was like my first, I'm going to learn how to video edit, right? So Terence gave me some pointers, helped me set up the shots and everything like that. But I did all the editing for it and pulled it all together. And now I feel very comfortable using Final Cut, and probably don't use it in the most efficient way, but I make it all happen.
I'm still learning how to do all that, and it's just a lot of work.
Yeah, it takes a lot of work, but it's fun it's fun in a way too, right? Yeah. Like you find a little error in the video and you realize it's in all of your shots, and then you find a way to remove that error from all the shots, and that might take a lot of work, but it does very well. So I haven't released it yet to the public, but the Trident service program, right, is going to have a 30-minute video associated with it. And I should probably share it with you. But
yeah,
it's basically the full break.
I need to chat with you about that today, but yes.
Yeah, it's the full breakdown and buildup of a Trident, and placing components and all of those different things. It's about 30 minutes long. And I'm still perfecting it because it's so much can go wrong. and we want people to be successful.
Mm-hmm.
But we've shared it with a lot of our customers, who have contacted us having trouble. We have beta tested the NSI tested the DIY kit, and everyone was successful with it. So
That's
now it's just
good.
kind of getting the finishing touches in place.
Fantastic. Well, now everyone knows you, Paul, which is
Yeah,
awesome.
I hope I didn't go on for too long there.
No,
I
it's all
apologize if I
good. It's
did.
all good. I'm just looking at the stream a little bit. Thank you so much, guys, for the super chat. Donald Martin, I'm going to use your 99 cents. I don't know what I'm going to buy with that. The 99-cent store? I don't know. And some people said they can't enter the contest, guys. I'm sorry. It looks like we got about 57 people. It's about to close. It's I have. If you have entered it, you would have gotten a message. If you haven't, you didn't enter. I've been having some computer issues today, so we got 57 people in, so that's good. Um,
That's pretty good chances. That's pretty good chances.
yeah. Okay, so you kind of brought up exactly what I wanted to discuss, at least for me.
Yeah.
So I don't know if
Hmm.
you know what happened to me, and I want you to kind of just run down what I should have done. Um, being is I'm very techy and I'm very open-minded, and I'll just destroy stuff and buy a
Hmm.
new one if I break it. That's just how I am.
Yeah.
Hopefully, it's not too expensive.
Hmm.
And I get this a lot. I mean, I probably get 5 to 10 PMs about this in a month. No joke.
Okay. All right.
And I'm curious to your comments on this. So
Okay. You've set me up here.
My Trident is one of the first. I got it from BRS
Hmm.
the day it came out to dealers. So I've had one of the first. I have
Okay.
never had a single issue with it, with one exception, which was my precision was off. And I called up support,
Hmm.
which I know you had fun with my video on this. I called up support and they
Hmm.
told me to clean the cuvette and that would fix it.
Yeah.
And it did.
Hmm.
My precision fixed. No problem since.
It did. Yep. Hmm.
Yep. 2 weeks ago, all of a sudden my Trident started saying no water sample. And it was driving me crazy
Hmm.
because I'd never had an issue with my Trident. So I
Hmm.
read a couple things online, and I don't recommend this, guys. Call Neptune. Um, but they said if you're not seeing the water fill up in the cuvette, that means that something's clogged, probably. I mean, that's the assumption that was
Hmm.
made. So that's what I did. I opened up the top. It's really easy, and looked. I did a prime, and no water would go in there. So I was like,
Hmm.
oh, well, that's why it's probably saying no water sample.
Right. Right.
um, so I started investigating. I looked at the black tube. The black tube was fine. I was able to blow through it, no problem. That was fine.
Hmm.
What the heck could it be then? So I looked inside and I'm like, oh, well, there's a little motor here, blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to really get into the details, but I saw this black, I call it the water highway. I don't know what you guys call it. It's
The
this
little
little
black
black
guy in the
thing.
center.
Yes.
It's called the manifold.
Oh, okay. And
Hmm.
that's where I noticed the problem was because I watched the stepper motor turn right and then go through the black thing, but no water would be coming through it. So I was like,
Hmm.
it's clogged in there. So I literally took the black thing out. I soaked it in citric acid for literally 5 minutes, put it back in, everything's back to normal and working. So,
Yeah.
what should I
So
have done?
so
And what's this do it yourself thing going to, is it going to hopefully help with situations like that in the future?
so so that's two questions, but the first part of this question is what happened, right? What probably happened here is a piece of particulate, a very small piece of particulate, probably made its way all the way up the sample line, right? Made its way past the cuvette, made it inside what we call the internal sample and waste line. So those are the parts that are inside the Trident, because you have a cuvette, you have a little connector that's on the outside, and then you have connectors that are in the inside. You saw that.
Mhm.
And so this internal sample line is likely where the clog was. If it was able to get all the way to the manifold is where we absolutely have the smallest internal diameter, right?
Mhm.
If it was to make its way all the way in there, it could have been lodged in there somewhere. What you did was just a fine way to do it, of how to clear it. The the most common reason that people will experience in the water samples, though, is that maybe they had their reagent, right, and their reagent's out, or their waistline is empty, and so in that situation, what does the Trident do? The Trident stops testing. If you were to wait for a period of, say 72 hours or so, what will start to happen is that water inside those sample lines, right? So we always keep that filled with water, right? And we do that for a variety of different reasons. But what will happen is that water inside those sample lines will start to evaporate. And what gets left behind? Why do we have ATOs? The salt content is what gets stuck in there. Okay. So the most common thing that happens is that that water evaporates out of the lines and the salt crystals are left behind. In that situation, you would have to clear those lines. And what you do to clear those lines is you remove them, plug them in, you go from there. This is something that Neptune Systems Support is happy to help out with.
Okay.
It doesn't affect a terrible number of customers, but something that is happy to help out with. The Trident DIY service kit, and it's one of the Trident service program options. There are 3 options with the Trident service program. It's just one of them. Okay. It will include new internal sample and waste lines. It will include a new cuvette. It'll include a new roller for the motor, include new connectors. And I think that's everything. And we go through on how to replace all those things in the DIY service kit. It does not include a new manifold. In our experience, that manifold very rarely has issues or gets clogged. There are ways to declog it, and the way that you did it and soaking in citric acid is absolutely fine. Another way to do it is to, have one tubing on there pushing water through where you're pinching everything, one other thing, and you can declog it that way. But in my experience, when we get Tridents in that have been clogged or anything like that, we don't find a terrible number of them that actually have any problems with the manifold at all.
So just me.
Yeah, and well, you're always a fringe case.
Yes,
but there are 2 other options. One option is place a deposit. We'll send you out a refurbished Trident. You send your Trident back.
Hello.
A $100 refund for a deposit.
Lost you for
and then, okay. Did you get the Trident service program? The advanced
if you said anything about cost, I didn't hear that.
Got it. So the advanced replacement has a $300 payment associated with it. The advanced replacement is where we send a Trident out to you, and then you send yours back, and then we refund $100 of that $300 payment. Okay. That includes all the shipping both ways, and that also includes a new 2-month reagent kit. The other option is called the send-in service, where you take your Trident off of your aquarium and you send it to us, right? That has a cost of $145, and then we cover the return shipping back to you and include a 2-month reagent kit, right?
Cool.
So those are essentially the 3 options available in the Trident service program. The third option, the DIY service kit, retails at, what does it retail at? Between $75 and $85.
So a question on that.
Service kit. Yeah.
Is that 2 questions on that? First of all, is it going to be sold in stores, the do-it-yourself kit, at some point, or do you not know?
Not initially. Not initially. So part of this is also finding the service for you, right, that fits your needs. And there's this elaborate questionnaire I've constructed asking you some very pointed questions. And a lot of people, I don't want them to choose the DIY service kit if maybe that DIY service kit is not for them. Like I said, the video in itself is just half an hour, but I mean, it's probably really a 2-hour process in which you're doing all of that. You're tearing it down.
See that.
Because you're tearing it down, you're confirming that it works after, you're draining the lines, all of these different things just add up. And so not a lot of people want to sign up for a 2-hour experience, right?
I do.
A lot of people might prefer, that's you, right? But a vast majority of our customers would probably just prefer to send theirs in. Now, when do you do this, right?
Yeah, a lot of people
we initially came
that.
out with, we initially came out with a 1.5 to 2 year kind of time frame. In the end, like I said, my Trident's been running for, I don't know, almost 3 years now, it feels like. It still has not had a service.
Yeah.
I have cleaned the cuvette once, right? But it's just out in the air. It doesn't even have a case on it. It's got a bunch of 3D printed parts on it still. but it still works great, you
Right.
know.
Same with
And
mine. Same with mine.
you
With
know,
the exception of
so
that.
it's a preventative service. So we're recommending, at about the 2 year point, which we just passed last week. That's how long the Trident was released. That'll become available. We're just finishing some final finishing touches, and then we'll make this available to customers. If you feel that your Trident's having a problem and it doesn't carry precision that you're hoping for, it doesn't carry any of these other things, or you're actually having an error associated with it, reach out to our support team. If your Trident is in this period of 1.5 to 2 years, you will get the option to say, I don't want to troubleshoot at all. I just want to send it in and do the service program. It's no problem.
So I don't know if Brian is trolling me. Brian's been with me since the beginning. He's asking, is there a
Yeah.
video on how to clean the cuvette? Yes, I made the video on how to clean the cuvette, and Paul said it was.
So let me
Let
get the
me
record
see if
straight.
I remember
I
the.
didn't
Let me see if I can remember
I
the
didn't
name you
dislike.
said. You said it's. What was the word you used? You used a good word.
It's not that I have a problem with the video. I think it's something that I always gets concerned, with, because it is an advanced operation, right? And we want to
Yeah.
make sure, and the one thing that I've learned since then is on the heavily dirty cuvettes, it's not just clean it all out. It's actually make sure every speck is out as well.
Oh
Right,
yeah.
because if you leave a little bit in there, it'll get sucked in, and then what happens? It gets sucked into the manifold and can get
Right.
clogged. That's kind of the only thing that we've kind of seen with the cuvette and the cuvette cleanings.
So, kind of with the same breath, I've been wanting to discuss this with you quite a bit. Um, the Trident comes with a 1 year warranty. Am I mistaken? That's correct, right?
Yes. Hmm.
So, for people that, how do I put this question in words? If you open up the Trident and do this do it yourself, right? And it's
Hmm.
within that 1 year warranty, and it doesn't work after it, I presume you help us out. But what happens to people that are out of warranty and screw their stuff up if they buy that? I'm just curious.
So there are a couple things that you can reconnect that will completely destroy the Trident if you reconnect them wrong, particularly a ribbon cable. If it's put on backwards, well, the whole thing will be based. All of the expensive parts will essentially be lost except the motor.
Mhm.
You kind of do it at your own risk, right?
Okay.
It's part of the gamble of the DIY. With that being said, I think that anyone who's dealt with my support team, or our support team, I should say, is knows that we're a customer first kind of company. So to penalize somebody who was just trying to make something work, that doesn't necessarily seem like something that I would be really inclined to do. But
Hmm.
negligence is negligence, right? So you always have
Right.
to take that into to take that into account. The way I also think about things too is we all make mistakes, but if you are a person who makes repeated mistakes, at a certain point, you do need to be responsible for yourself.
Right. Cool. I think that's good for everything on the Trident. Because yeah,
Okay.
I've never had an issue with my Trident until that one day, and I was scratching my
It's
head. I was like, how is this
it's just a piece of
happening?
particulate that gets in there, and it doesn't happen often. We may have a solution for that in the future that we're considering. So more information on that will come as Neptune Systems announces it. But per
Hmm.
my policies, I'm not going to comment on anything like that.
Yeah, and it's interesting because once I looked inside and once I saw kind of the inner workings of the Trident, I was like, oh, I can work on this. Once you actually see it, understand it, the do-it-yourself probably won't be too bad for most of us out there that are good with electronics and good with plumbing and good with, you know,
If, if,
but
if you're the type of person that likes to change out your brake pads, right,
yeah,
then the DIY service kit is for you.
right.
Right, like that is a commitment that you have time and energy and a little bit of know-how. You are that type of person. If you like to change your timing belt, the DIY service kit is for you.
Yeah, I think
If
so.
you you know if you are the type of person that just wants to plug it in, and that's about it, then the DIY service kit is not for you.
Also, buying a Reef bot is not for anybody because let me explain why.
So
Because they require you to open up their product to fix it every single time there's a problem. So I
yeah,
just want to throw that out there. Anyway, let's see. A lot of people are
I had a
asking.
note. I had a note. Didn't know about a beef. No, I'm just
Yeah.
kidding.
Oh, you mean the little thing in the upper right hand corner?
I
Um,
didn't notice that.
well, now you do. A lot of people are asking this. I don't know if you've ever gotten this question, Paul. Extended warranty options. I don't know why, but a lot of people are asking this. Have you guys ever thought about service plans or anything like that?
We, have we talked about it? Have we considered it? Have we thought about it? Sure. But something I would take action on next week? No, right?
Yeah.
So it's just is what it is. I'm always the person when Best Buy is asking me like, "Hey, do you want to buy the extended service plan for $70?" I'm a hard no.
I'm a hard
There's
no
not
too.
much you can do. It's not much you can do to convince me otherwise, because at the point that it would break, the technology is going to be obsolete anyways.
Yeah.
That's not Neptune Systems products by any means, right?
Right.
We make a product and we try to future proof it as much as we possibly can.
I have an exception to the rule. Because I'm a computer programmer and because I work in an office or my office and program all day, I always get a warranty on my computer. Always. And that's just me
Hmm.
because of my job. I can see people
Right.
getting a warranty if they own a fish shop, and they have a bunch of product, and maybe they
Hmm.
want to warranty it for quite a long time. I can see that being kind of beneficial, but I totally get it.
Hmm.
Um, I'm looking at a lot of people are asking about reverberation stuff. I'm not going to talk about that much. Let's see. Okay. Oh, before we go, I publicly wanted to congratulate you guys on the Sky release because
Thanks.
um, lots of great reception from it. A lot of people that saw it at the show, I've been talking to them. They're like, "Oh, this thing's fantastic." So I'm really happy for you guys coming up with a light everyone's happy with. I've been happy with it from day one. I think the first time I lit it up, I messaged Terence and I just said, "Wow."
Yeah.
That was my
And
comment. That's what I said.
there's with lighting, right? And I think Terrence and the team and all of us have done a great job communicating exactly what this lighting looks like and does, and the
Mm,
benefits of it, and all of that. And we also talk about what it doesn't offer, right? If you're looking
mm,
for Kessel shimmer, this isn't a light for you, right?
nope.
But it is a light that has a significant amount of spread, right? A 30 by 36 for most 36 by 30 for most reef tanks. That means two lights for a mixed reef on a 72-inch tank, right? One light over a 36-inch tank that will more than meet your needs. Further, we have also, it because of that spread and that blanket of lighting doesn't offer a lot of harsh shadows, and it gives a full spectrum of light that allow you to be very successful in a very simple way.
Mm.
Um, I think the other thing to say about it is it looks great in all the pictures. It looks great behind me right now, but there's something to be said when you just see it. And I think a lot of
That's
people, one of the
exactly
great,
correct.
and
100%.
a lot, it was a great effect. When I saw it over that 72-inch tank that we did at Reefapalooza last weekend, it was kind of the cherry on top in terms of all the work that we put into it. It was exactly what I wanted to show and we wanted to show, and
Mm.
the tank looked spectacular, and the lighting
You,
was a big part of that, along with everything else that
I
went
mean, you
into it.
totally brought that up. It's really, guys, it's really hard, really, really hard for us to show you on a camera how great
Hmm.
this light looks until you see it in person. Um, it's hard to explain because, and I think it was either you or Terrence brought it up maybe, but it looks like you're literally scuba diving, and that's the only way I can explain it. It literally looks like you're in the ocean scuba diving
Well,
when you look at it.
You know, it, Terrence made a great analogy. Like even at sunrise, right? The lighting's just coming over the horizon, the sun, right? But yet when you're out scuba diving, you're getting a very blue look, but it's a blanket of light, right? We weren't, and the sun, if we'd called it the sun, let's say, that would be if we had made a point source light, right? But really, the idea here behind the sky was to make a blanket of light, right? To shower your reef with light and hit every corner, from
Mm-hmm.
edge to edge. And when we do release the par ratings and stuff like that, what you're going to see is a very uniform par distribution at all
Mm-hmm.
levels. right? So, you know, you don't have a hot spot in the center, right? You don't have a super shaded spot on the edge. From edge to edge, what you're going to see is a very uniform look of maybe only a couple 20, 30 par reading.
Yeah. So I I know sky is the topic of the month, but I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
get into some other stuff if you don't mind. I got some cool stuff to ask you. I think it's cool. Maybe everybody else be like, I don't care. Talk about the sky. No. Let's see. I'm looking at everything else here. Any other good questions? Lovely one. Yes, they will have a Y cable. They were asking about how to daisy chain the skies. They will come with a Y
Yeah,
cable in order to daisy chain them.
right. And the Y cable, you could connect two skies and plug that into one Aquabus port, or you could connect one of it and then connect it into another Y cable and just kind of daisy chain it that way. So essentially, you will, even if you had, you know, 8 lights, right, you only use one Aquabus port on your energy bar or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Cool. All right, so I switched this over to my Apex.
Okay,
There's a reason. And I know this
let's
is a
do it.
little, I think this is more personal for me, so I apologize, guys, but I don't get to have Paul on here very often. So I'm having this major issue, and some people have had this issue too, and I am curious why. So I have an alarm outlet, right? And
Uh-huh.
we're not going to really get deep into the alarm outlet, but it's just a bunch of ons
There,
for different things, right?
there's a few things there, right?
Yeah. So the biggest problem I have, and this doesn't happen often, is my Apex reboots maybe in the middle of the night or I lose power. Okay. This has happened maybe 1 or 2 times since I've had my Apex. And lo and behold, the alarm goes off. And it goes off for about 5 minutes and then it shuts off and wakes me up. And again, I think
Okay.
this is more of a specific personal problem, but I've heard this from
Hey,
other
I'm
people.
here for you, Derek.
So why in the Apex, and I've heard this from a lot of people, why in the Apex do we get the alarm to go off when we reboot our Apex if we have things on there? Does that make sense?
Yes. So why do you get an alert
When
when
we
the
reboot
Apex
it.
reboots,
That's
right?
correct.
And are you getting a specific statement in that alert, or are you just getting a set
It's
off?
it's pretty random actually. Like
Mm-hmm.
yesterday it happened, and that's why it's fresh in my mind. The
Mm-hmm.
EB8 power, that's the one I got.
Well, the Apex works by this concept of the last one in wins.
Hmm.
Okay. So the last statement in your alarm log that is true is going to win. Okay.
Hmm.
Is going to be the statement that is typical. In the situation of the power on your EB8, right? It essentially, you had a power event on that EB8, right? And so that is the alert that came in because all of the alerts underneath that EB8 alert weren't necessarily true. There wasn't a leak, right? You didn't have, you know, your reef pump wasn't in an error situation, for example, right? So while there may have been things true above that statement, right, that was the statement that was last and was true. Now, in another situation, something below that power on the EBA might be true, right? But if you
Right.
were to probably move that power statement all the way down to the bottom, that would be the case. The reason why you probably don't get an if power statement for your Apex is probably you have a battery backup on your Apex, I would imagine,
I do.
right? So,
I do.
and so exactly. So in that situation there, it never really lost power. It just rebooted.
I'm hearing actually, if you look at the chat, other people have had the same issue. So it's not really an issue. It's more of just a question. Um,
Yeah.
I've tried longer defers, so I've done like a 10-minute defer, and every single time I reboot the Apex, my alarm goes off. It's very
Mm-hmm.
interesting. And if I delete all this, Paul, I don't get that.
Mm-hmm.
So if I delete everything here, then my alarm doesn't go off. And it's I've always wanted to question this because this has been a question I've wanted to ask you personally for a while.
Well, the defer statement is one of those things that will help, you know, should help adjust that. Number two, it's also putting in there what, you know, what sort of quote unquote really matters, right?
Hmm.
Um, and making sure that it's simple. Because one thing that I am guilty of, and a lot of reefers are guilty of, is ignoring alarms, right?
Hmm.
And so if you find that there's an alarm that you consistently ignore, right, and it's just helpful for you to know that. There are a couple good ways to do this. My
Hmm.
favorite way to do alarms that I don't really need to take immediate action on, it's just good for me to know, right, is to
Hmm.
actually nestle those into a virtual outlet, and
Right.
then I actually put an if time statement in that virtual outlet. Okay. And that if
Yep.
time
That's what I
statement
do.
will be a time that'll be a time in which I know if I got the alarm at around this time, that means I would probably take care of it. Okay.
Yep.
And so that's how I handle alerts that don't rise to the top for me. Okay. But alerts that I want to know about all the time, those are the ones I keep in my email alarm.
Right. That's what I do too. I do the exact same thing you just said, and I'll explain that
Yeah.
with visual cues for people. So on my email, I have an output if reef trident, if output reef trace, and all of these up here are tied to virtual outlets that have a time associated with them. That way, if I get an error from my trident, meaning it's out of reagent, it'll only happen during certain times of the day, and it won't just keep alerting me all day long. Because what if I'm not home and my trident ran out of reagent? Well, it's not an emergency, right? So I'm just gonna wait, till I get home. So this alerts me every, 3 or 4 hours instead of every, 10 hour or
Yep.
30 minutes, I think.
I put
So
it in windows in which I'll actually do something, you
right,
know?
exactly. Um, I still don't have an answer, unfortunately, Paul. So my a lot
I,
of people,
I can't give you a great answer, Derek, without doing a deep dive.
I know,
It's
I
something is
know.
true and something is triggering that. And so that's why it's on, right?
I'm gonna
Increasing
have to
at the first
probably
statement.
I'm gonna have to just delete one at a time and find it. That's
Yep.
probably what I'm gonna have
And
to do.
then, yeah. And then, the other thing too here is if you don't want alerts after a reboot, right? Then you actually at the bottom should put an if power statement off, right? So if
Hmm.
actually a reboot happens, turn the email alarm outlet off. That's
Right.
how, if you really don't want alerts based on reboots because that's not something you need to know, or maybe you just want to get one consistent alert based on a reboot, you would
Hmm.
put that below that off statement.
Terrific. I'm gonna play with that some more. I need more alarms, everyone's saying. So that brings me to my wish list questions for you, and I'm just curious
Okay.
um,
Hmm.
if this is something you guys have thought about, if it's something maybe in the future that you can discuss. If not, I get it. Um, but the one thing I've always been questioning or wondering is cloud backing up. Has that ever came up in discussion by chance?
Oh, if it didn't come up in conversation, right? Then I would think that we wouldn't be actual true hobbyists, right?
Right.
The application of our product. It has some certain challenges and that due to that and the limited number of resources that any company has, it hasn't been something that's unfortunate that's risen to the top in terms of getting that kind of feature set there. We've
Mm,
made some small things which you'll start seeing to make kind of backups, changes, overs, getting new equipment a little bit easier. But those things are still kind of in the NSI proportion of testing and things like that.
okay.
Um, yeah, so that'd be my comment there. And this will be a shameless plug for the company. We're currently hiring. We are hiring for a senior electrical engineer right now. We have been hiring for that position for some time. We want a hobbyist. We want someone in the Bay Area. So if you want to make a change and you're an electrical engineer and you can bring it, like we want to talk to you. So,
Hmm.
so we are always growing and always looking to add more talent to the team so we can focus on these kind of requests that, like that, for example.
I I think everyone knows here. I applied for a job there. I applied for a job there before I started this channel. By why
Hmm.
I was like, you guys were looking for like an off-site tech guy, and I was like, oh, I could do this on the weekends. I'm
Yeah, I
so
remember. I
busy.
remember getting your resume, and for my tech support people and John and I, my support manager, we really want you we really want to, you know, a 40-hour week kind of person, if
Right.
not more,
I know.
right? So
You don't have to
the
explain.
part time,
I
yeah.
just laugh. That's all.
I'm just telling you.
Because
I'm just telling
I
you
want it to work for you
what we're
guys
looking
too.
for. It's fun.
Oh yeah. So kind of going through that wish list, I have a couple of them I wrote down, but people are bringing them up too, which is great.
Hmm.
Um, Multiple alarms. I think that's something a lot of people have asked for.
Yeah.
Is that
And
something on
again, you
your
know,
horizon?
it's on the board. It's on the board.
That's
You
awesome.
know,
That's awesome to hear.
that's about as much as I can say. And but does it rise to the top of the board? So that's the next thing being worked on.
Hmm.
You know,
As
that's
long as
always the
it's
question.
as long as it's on the board, that's all that
Yep.
matters to me. Because knowing that you know what people are asking for from the higher tech guys, that's good to know.
Hmm.
Because Terence won't
Yeah.
tell me because he doesn't know how to use a computer. So when I ask you, it's like, oh, you guys know what I'm talking about. You two
Well,
are talking already quite a.
it's me saying it's on the board doesn't mean, oh, it's coming next week, right?
Uh,
It's just, you know, we know about it. It's something that we see the benefit of having.
mhm.
And does it rise to the top? Because right now, things that are rising to the top are things like the sky. You
Yeah,
know?
exactly, exactly. Let's see. I've always asked for tabs. That's something I've always wanted, like an ability to have, different multiple tanks on one, just a tab that says tank one, tank two,
Well,
tank three.
I, I can show you sort of a vision of the app that's coming out,
That's
an
where we're
updated app,
going with
Apex
this.
Fusion app. If you wanna jump into that.
Oh yeah, we're going into that next. I'm just checking if there's any
Oh,
other wish list items here. Um,
mm-hmm.
I mean, those have always been my wish list, but that's,
Yeah.
let's see. Curiosity, another curiosity. I don't know if people know this, but I found this out the other day. Why is it on the pH alarms that the top amount is only 10.99 for the alert and can't go higher?
Because the pH probe that we're using, and most pH probes in the circuitry involved in there, right, are more for reef tanks, right? So
Mm-hmm.
to get the accuracy and precision that you get in the typical range of a reef aquarium, we would have to, you know, to carry that accuracy over to higher levels of pH, you would need a different kind of pH probe, a pH probe
Mm-hmm.
that has a larger range with that same level of accuracy. And two, you'd need to have new electrical circuitry. Now, does that mean that we don't measure higher than that? No, it doesn't mean that. It just means that the accuracy and the precision start to fall off below that. One change in the most recent release of firmware, though, is we've always been kind of limited on the lower range of the temperature probe, and that usable range of the temperature probe has now been expanded,
That's fantastic.
down to 40 degrees or so.
Cool. Yeah, for me it's the calc. So I put a calc reactor in now, and it measures at about
Hmm.
12. So I'd like to
Hmm.
know if it drops, but it has to drop to
I mean,
10.9, which isn't bad. I'm just curious,
right,
that's all.
right.
Let's see. Looking at all these other stuff. Someone had a really good question. Really good question. If I could find it. Oh man. Well, we'll get into. Let me switch over to you so you can start talking about the. Well, that's not you. That's some woman.
Oh, maybe it's not set up anymore
Oh,
because the reboot.
oh yeah. Show you what you wanted to show us. I'm excited to see this myself.
Okay. Okay.
I'm trying to find that other question. There's such a good question. Oh yeah. We got Antonio in here from VCA. This can be a quick answer. What's your thoughts on that new
Oh, the
salt
SPS.
probe thing? Yeah, what do you think about it? And how can
So
someone implement it easy? My concern only is that you have to put a pump into it. But what's your
uh,
thoughts on it?
so VCA has made a great product, you know, and with a little bit of guidance from us, but really kind of took the idea that we had and ran with it. And it's basically kind of what I've always been saying in terms of people that, you know, get very erratic readings on their salinity probes. And that's that, you know, they're collecting micro bubbles, right?
Right.
So I've always said, yeah, put just a little Coralia power head on it, a little nano on it, and you know,
Uh-huh.
that'll take care of it. A, it pushes flow past it, and B, it then pushes the micro bubbles off of it, right?
Right.
So we kind of took that concept, right, and then made a product that essentially pushes a small amount of water through the salinity probe to create that flow and keeps the bubbles off of it all the time as well. So I think it's a great application of an idea that I've always recommended, but then puts it in a very usable form. And it's easy to do. So essentially all you have to do for this product is take the VCA product, you slide it onto the salinity probe, and then he sells one version of it with a C-shape pump, and then the
Okay.
other version of it will probably be able to use a PMUP or something like that. Okay. And you just turn the DC24 output or the outlet that the pump is plugged into to always on.
And you just sit
Done.
it kind of right
Done.
next. It doesn't really matter where it goes, right? It could just sit right next to it, couldn't it?
Doesn't matter where it goes
Yeah.
now.
Cool.
It's a great idea. He took, you know, a little bit of guidance from us, but he kind of took all of our ideas and ran with it and just made a great, easy to use little product.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to swing over there. You know, he's here locally. I'm gonna try to swing over there and see all the stuff he's working on. But that's gonna be huge for. I called it. What did I call it? The stop calling Neptune support piece or something. I thought it was something. I forgot what I called it. Anyway, all right. Let's see what you're doing. Sorry.
Okay. So, you know, first off, this is my light behind me. It's connected via Bluetooth right now or wireless. Okay, so this
Okay.
is standalone. I don't have this connected to my Apex. I've been running it Bluetooth for quite a long time. Very reliable. And this is what it would look like if you had a standalone Apex. Okay, there might be some other bells and whistles here, but essentially, if you want to do something on it, right, you know, impact press that little tile button right there, and then you select the mode you want to be under. Right. So if I want to move over to photo mode, it's going to immediately turn into photo mode here behind me, and go from there. If I want to schedule it, all I need to do is just click the calendar. Okay. And I say, when do I want it on? When do I want it off? Okay. And what color do I want to have it? Right. So I run a custom color in my tank. I like putting a lot of UV on the tank. So I run the intensity at 100% with the UV all the way up. But we have a lot of pre-described modes as well, right? So if I want to run the coral growth mode, which is essentially all of the outlets at 100% intensity, you can do there. If you want to run the Neptune sky mode, which is kind of a like a real 20K sort of look, you can go from there. You choose the color and you're done. But if you want a graph, you know, that you're always familiar with, you have that ability too, to have your points and all these different things, and you know, have custom colors at each point. You have the ability to do that.
Right.
But if you are someone who wants to make sure that it runs, you know, the way that you've always known it, you can do that as well, right? With the classic dashboard, right? So that's a dashboard that you're always very familiar with, you know, and you can use it that way, in terms of the way you've always programmed outlets. I don't know where. Go ahead.
So I did notice. I don't know if it's just because it's still in beta right now, but I don't get those options on the general Apex. Is that something that's going to be coming out?
Yeah. So this is currently just still internal testing. You're
Okay.
going to get this next week.
Okay. Because
And then
the
one.
photo mode is
Go ahead.
something huge that I'd love to use, but I wasn't
hmm
sure what you guys were using for the photo mode, so I just guessed. I think I put 100 on amber, 30 on blue or
Uh,
something. I don't
I
remember what I
I can
did.
show you.
Does it
Show
show
you.
on this
So
app?
uh so that's photo mode. White
Oh,
all the way up to
nice.
100%. Blues and UVs are there, and amber all at the same kind of color.
Okay,
So
so it shows it
and
there.
this will be available.
Perfect.
Yeah. And this is kind of a vision that we have in general in terms of what the UI is moving towards, right? So right now, instead of having, you know, a bunch of discrete graphs, right, with all of our water quality measurements, right, we have one tile that has all of the water quality options nestled inside. You'll obviously be able to decide what you want in there, you know, and
Oh,
be
that's
able to
so cool,
configure that,
man. That's so
right?
cool, man.
And so, you know, down the line here, right, there hypothetically would be an energy bar 832 tile here. Okay. And that energy bar 832 tile, you know, you do an impact press on that, and then that brings up all the outlets on the energy bar 832. Right. So
Sweet.
it's not all nestled in between. Furthermore, you might get something that looks like this too, and this is just a might. Now, I don't want you to get too excited. I can already kind
I
of tell you. So
I get
so
excited.
watch how I can slide, right, from left to right, all these sorts of different things. The idea is this could be different
Thanks.
tiles. This could be different tanks. This could be different tiles. You might have one tile that has all of the display tank items. You might have another tile that looks like all your sump and filtration options,
Oh,
right?
that's so cool.
Where you can always get
Don't
back
get
to
me
this if
excited.
this is what you
Don't get me
prefer.
excited.
But
Stop.
and this is not sky, right? But this is kind of the vision, right, of where the app is going to kind of go and what you're going to
Mhm.
continue to see from Neptune Systems over the next couple of months.
That's fantastic, man. Um,
Yeah,
wow. Just that water quality tab alone, guys. If I think we lost some people here. This is not the sky what he's showing. I mean, it is the sky, but he's not showing us the sky, guys. He's showing us this
sky's
cool
here.
new, yeah, this cool new app basically.
It's
I
not
think
a new
people,
app. It's still Apex Fusion,
it's just
right?
changing how it looks.
Still Apex Fusion. Hmm.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry. I like to, yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Um,
Let's Greg, Greg's on here, so I'm gonna ask this question, even though I think I know the answer. Greg Carroll's asking, why did they make the decision to not use a true UV and opted for a near UV? I don't know what that means exactly, but I'm gonna ask it because
with I'll
I
answer
want to
this very
ask.
generally. With all of the LEDs that we've selected to use in the sky, right? There are 7 or 8 different LEDs. I don't even know the count, right? We chose the LEDs very appropriately to give a that peak spectrum of 415, 420. Okay.
Mhm.
And if you look at the spectrum graph, it's kind of in that range. I don't know if I quoted that exactly, but and so that was the overall spectrum graph of the that the sky would deliver. And all of the options that we selected in terms of violet, UV, all of these things helped to make sure that we had that peak in the right place.
Mhm. Yeah, I can tell you, Greg. Well, Greg knows if he saw it
He saw
live,
he
which
he saw the light. He knows
yeah,
it looks good too.
I mean, it looks fantastic. So there's really, I mean, all these questions, while I appreciate them, it's so different when you see it, guys. It really is. When you physically see it, you will see why there's no more whys anymore. Who cares at that point? I mean, I don't touch that stuff anyways. I just throw it on AB plus right now and call it a day. I don't ever mess with it.
Yep,
Um, let's
that's the idea.
see. Going into getting at about an hour, so I want to just finish up with some more techie stuff because that's what I promised people. Can you comment on any new programming coming out? Is there anything you're allowed to say? Any new
So
symbols? Symbols? No, not
with
symbols. Comments.
with the with the current release of the most recent version of firmware 5.06 5E21, which just came live this morning, from this small update to address some of our anomalies that we saw out there, specifically with international customers. But 5E21 offers the ability to get notifications about if a module were to become disconnected, right?
That's
So
wonderful.
prior, there was no way to know if a module physically wasn't connected to the system anymore. And now you can get an alert notification based on that. It's using that if error statement, and you're just going to use the error statement if error apex. Okay. And when you use that, if a module were to come disconnected, you would get a notification letting you know the offending module that's disconnected, and it could be disconnected for any number of reasons. It could be due to a little kid coming by pulling out the cable. Could be due to a software hardware issue. Could be due to you deleting the module or something like that. So you could get a notification about that module becoming missing.
Hmm. Yeah, that's going to be huge for a lot of us, especially when you have 10 FMMs like I do. Let's see.
Yes,
Um,
yes, and the name of the module, so whatever you name it is how you'll know about it.
yeah.
So yeah.
Yes, sciency. It's an industry term. uh, I love my subs, man. They're so much fun. Let's
You've got an interesting group, a
yes.
group that doesn't mind to challenge you, and a group that knows what they're talking about,
Hmm.
and a group that is into technology in all forms,
You
right?
know,
And
I
so,
love I love getting challenged, and I love being honest and telling people how it is. It's a breath of fresh
mhm,
air for me when I hear that from everyone.
yeah,
Just looking
definitely.
to see if there's anything here that I wanted. I mean, most of my tutorials explain a lot of people how to program. There's not, you know, that alarm thing has just been driving me crazy. So I just wanted to ask about it.
I mean, it's
Uh,
it's going to be a matter of elimination. But like I said, if you want to stop getting those reboot alerts, you would use an off statement at the end instead of an on statement.
yeah. Let's see. Registration. Just a minute. Let's see. Okay. Anyway. Well, let's see. Anybody else have any questions? Paul, is there anything you want to announce? Anything cool? Anything going on in your life that you
No,
want to mention?
no,
Anything?
I think that we've covered it. We've covered the light, a good deal this week, and we're going to continue to cover the light a good deal until up till its release and after its release. And so a lot of good questions. I wanted to talk about the trade and service program a little bit because I know people have been wondering about that. And I'm just really glad that I was able to join you today and get to know you a little bit more, and you were able to get to know me.
Absolutely, man. I've been waiting to talk to you personally.
Good.
Let's see. Everybody wants hats, man. So when are you guys gonna sell swag on your store? Come
So
on.
I am the Grinch of swag, definitely. I am just a straight up Grinch. The person you need to talk to is our East Coast sales manager or director of sales for the country. I call him the T-shirt king. He gives away a lot of T-shirts. I will not name his name. He knows who he is. But that is your avenue if you want swag. No. But in terms of the store and things like that, I basically COVID happened. I don't know
Uh-huh.
if you knew. That's
Yeah.
something that we've all been dealing with, and just everything kind of came down, right, in terms of all the extra little things. And it's all still available. You just need to email us directly to make that stuff, those purchases happen. Over this summer, I'll continue to get that stuff kind of going online. We
And go to
frequently get
shows,
asked about
right?
the trip.
You
Yeah,
guys
yeah,
give them
yeah. So we
away at
kind of go to
shows.
we give a heck of a way it shows. So if you want to come out and do the thing, it was fun. I felt safe. All of those things at Reefapalooza Orlando, and it was just a great experience. Aquashella, which will come up in another 3 weeks
Mhm.
from now, is going to be a great show, and then Reefapalooza in New York will be 2 weeks
Ah,
after that.
I
So
so want to go
you
to one.
have
It's just too far for me. It's just I
yeah,
don't know
yeah.
how I'm gonna get away.
So we have Chicago,
Yeah, that's where I'm from,
in
so I could go there.
Dallas, Chicago. Oh, yeah, no, that's good. I love Chicago.
Yeah.
But I will not be at Aquashella. I don't think I'll be at New York, but I might be. We'll see. And we kind of go from there with it.
Yeah,
So
I met you in person in Chicago at Reefapalooza, and I met Terence for the first
okay,
time at Reefapalooza. This was a long time ago. This is before I started doing all this stuff. But
I
in
think I
any,
vaguely recall that. I think I vaguely recall that
yeah,
meeting.
yeah.
So you were challenging me on something, I'm
Of
sure.
course I was. My wife's really tiny. She's brunette, really tiny. Yeah, I don't know. I'm sure you met a lot of people, but that's okay. Uh, yeah, so far, Barab, Macna is still happening this year, right? I mean, that's still
Hmm.
on the books. Okay,
Yeah,
so we're
no,
gonna.
Macna's done, dude. There's no Macna. They canceled it.
They canceled in
They
Phoenix.
canceled
I
it.
was I was
They
super
canceled it in
pissed last
Phoenix.
year.
Well, understandably, I mean, it was a different time, but they canceled it in Atlanta
I
in
know.
September.
I know.
Come on, I was so disappointed about that.
I was
So
super pissed, man. The Phoenix one, of course, I was super pissed because that was the first time
yeah,
after I started my channel that I start to meet some of my subs in person, that I get to talk to you
hmm
guys, I get to see everybody. I was so
yeah. I'm
pissed.
just
I was gonna have a
and
little
Atlanta
get
would have
together
been
at my
such a good.
house.
Phoenix would have been a good show, but Atlanta would have been such a good show. That's such a good aquarium, and
I know.
ah, it was
Oh,
such a disappointment from the Mazda team on that.
I know. Oh. All right, guys. Well, we're going to be giving away an Apex today. If you guys didn't see it, it's just the brain, because this is all I have on me right now. But it'll be a good upgrade for people that have an Apex EL. It'll be a great upgrade for people that have Apex EL. But also, it all you really need is what, a temperature probe and an EB8 and you're set. I mean, you really don't need anything
Yeah,
else. I
Yeah,
mean, unless you
temperature
want
probe,
to.
and a power supply of some sort, so that could be
Yeah,
through the dose, that could be through the Trident, that could be through an EB8, that could be through a
yeah,
12-volt power supply.
yeah.
Any of that will work. Wow.
All right. So here we go. Guys, I know it was weird getting into the contest, so if you didn't get in, I apologize. We had 57 people enter today, which is huge, guys. And we had about 70-ish people here watching. So I really appreciate everyone coming today. We're going to have some great guests coming too. Um, and we got some cool stuff coming. Everyone's asking about the little black box that I showed off last week. I don't know if you know about it, Paul, but there's
I
a
didn't see it. I
product.
was so busy,
Yeah, so there's a product I'm
but
going to be announcing, not Neptune, but it's a SpectraPure product, and it's going to be freaking cool when you guys see it. So
cool.
we'll be having them on. All right, here we go. So our winner today is a Mr.
Drum
Eric
roll.
Jones. Eric Jones.
Oh, perfect. And he's right there. He said, I have an Apex Gold. I'd be perfect.
Well, you're
Look at
perfect and
that.
you won, dude. It's funny, on my
Way to go,
stream,
dude.
that always happens. It happened last week. The guy, J Fusion, I think, said it would be nice if I got an AFS. Well, he got an AFS.
I love when.
That's freaking cool. All right, Eric, you're going to have to catch me on Facebook. Just get a hold of me and I'll ship this out to you. I have it sitting right here, so it's going to be pretty quick. And before I go, I don't know if Paul knows, but I'm going to start up an online store for Neptune. I'm going to start selling Neptune stuff, which is
Cool, cool.
starting, I hope, this week
So
if
now,
I have time.
so one thing I love about Derek is, I'm a Grinch, right? Like it's a
We
well-known
know,
fact.
we know.
But one thing about what I love about Derek is, when he started this Reef Automation show, and when he, comes to us and needs things for the show, it's never like, hey, I'll plug your products if you can do this for me. Hey, I'll do this. Derek gets all of this stuff with his own money, doesn't ask for any kind of like special treatment or anything like that. He makes the purchase, we get him taken care of and sent out and everything like that. It's great that you're going to become a reseller, which means now you can get this stuff at discount a little bit,
A little bit.
and and you can fund these
Huh.
giveaways a little bit more effectively.
Yes, that is true. The giveaways I will be able to fund with not having to pay full retail, which is great.
Full
But
retail, right? But
but to Paul's point, I really appreciate you saying that. Up until this point, I've always bought everything at full retail. No one's ever given me a discount ever. And all my reviews and everything I do, um, that's how I want it to be. I'm never going to be sponsored. I just don't like that. I want to be one of those
yeah,
people that aren't like that. And of course, I'm biased towards Neptune in certain degree because I own it and I love it and it works. So
well,
it's hard for me not
I
to do reviews on it and teach people on things. If I don't know how to do something, I'm not going to sell it. I'm not going to sell, and I said this on the last stream, I'm not going to sell GHL and all these other ones because I don't know it. I'm not going to go to my customers' homes and install something I don't know. Maybe in the future I might, but at this point in time I don't. So it's not necessarily a bias,
well,
it's more of a expertise per se,
Derek,
you
I hope
know?
there's never any reason for you to have to learn anything else, because I hope we keep bringing you products that work and work well for you and work to your expectations.
Yes, so far so good. I've been I've been doing Neptune before you, dude. I had my first Apex in 2003, 2004-ish.
The aqua controllers, yeah.
Yeah, so I've been doing it for a long time. Anyway, we've chatted enough. Any last minute really important questions for Paul? Any last minute Paul need to say anything? Anything cool? You're releasing the nitrate checker next week, right? No?
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
definitely.
You heard it first on my channel. The Trident Pro coming next week. All right, Paul. Thank you so much, man. You have a good one.
All right, Derek, it was nice hanging out with you. Have a good one.